Hello and welcome back to the Lawson Mountain Biking Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brooks Lawson, aka the Mountain Biking Realtor, and you can find all things Brooks at brookslawson.com. I got a co-host today, which is Dale Doherty of MTB ATX, and we've had Dale on the show before. We're still planning to get him his own show in the near future, but this show is going to be about Scott Smith. Scott is probably best known for his appearance at Crankworx in 2018. Would you agree?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So his foray into mountain biking was documented by none other than Seth Alvo, aka Seth Bike Hacks, aka Burn Peak. So Scott, why don't you get us started off by telling about your history with biking, and if you want to throw some things about Seth and your guys' relationship in there, that'd be interesting to hear about.
Cool. Yeah, so Seth has pretty much been around since almost the beginning. I started riding BMX when my dad told me there's a bike specially made for doing wheelies all the way down the street. And I had this little, kind of downward hill. And I just imagined some guy riding down on his back wheel. And I was like, my mind was blown. He picked up Rad from the library on VHS. And then I don't think we ever returned it. I just destroyed that tape just on repeat. My family hated me. I would not stop watching it. Eventually got a BMX bike.
What is Rad?
Oh, so Rad is kind of the movie that got everybody into BMX back in the day when I was a kid. Basically about a hometown kid who has a chance to either take his SATs or go race hell track. And he's super talented and just kind of wants to dedicate his life to bikes instead of school, and fights with his mom. And I definitely understood the appeal. So, got a BMX bike, proceeded to break every part off of it over and over again. Got a better BMX bike, met Seth, and we just went out street riding, building trails, and hanging out. So he basically, progressed with me, and, we fell in love with riding together and rode every day, and then eventually lost contact. Years and years later, he reaches out to me and basically said, "Hey, Scott, have you ridden a mountain bike?" And I said, "No, why would I?" In my mind, I had the older view of mountain bikers because they had progressed a lot since then. But like the, 40-something-year-old guy kind of just riding over a little log and being like, "Wow, I just got so extreme." Compared to BMX, it wasn't what I was looking for. So he's like, "Well, you never really rode brakes," which I didn't. And, to kind of address that, I do have brakes on my bike in that video, but it's only because I put them on because I had a torn ACL and I literally couldn't stop, jamming my foot in the back tire. He's like, "I have a proposition for you." And I was like, "I'm in." He's like, "Dude, we haven't talked in years." And I'm like, "I don't care. It's you. Seth is a wild man." I was like, "I'm in." He goes, "Well, I have a YouTube mountain biking channel, and I got invited to do a kind of documentary kind of video, for Dirt Diaries alongside, Crankworx 2018. And, he kind of had to, for what I understand, he had to submit a script and get it approved. And the idea was since I introduced him to my love of BMX, he would introduce me to his love of mountain biking. He basically said, "We're going to put you on a mountain bike for the first time on Whistler Mountain, just film the carnage." And I was like, "Let's go." So I had no idea what I was in for. He flew out. I really didn't look too much into mountain biking. I wanted to have it be an experience. I didn't start watching videos or learning tips or anything like that. That's pretty crazy. But I trust him. Maybe I shouldn't have. He put me down Schlayer, one of the first runs, which is double black tech. Absolutely crazy. We flew out to Whistler and I got on the mountain bike, and it felt crazy to me. It felt wrong. It felt like I was doing something that just was the opposite of what I should be doing on BMX. And then by day 3, I had done A-Line, I had done Dirt Merchant, I did, Dwayne Johnson, which is a pro line. And there's something about the aspect of like nature can be a skate park that really appealed to me. And from that point, I hope this is answering your question. I'm just kind of on a tangent.
Tangents are what it's all about.
From that point, I was very confused about what part of mountain biking that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do it, but I kind of felt weird being on the trails. I couldn't keep up. I was out of shape. I was always looking for BMX sort of inspired things. I mentioned in the video, you see a rock that could be a launch, and gap out over a log or something. And I didn't realize there was kind of a side of mountain biking called freeride. So now I'm, after the past 3 years of trying to figure it out, I finally understand what freeride is. Like, it makes sense in my mind because, I didn't know what enduro was or XC was or freeride or just trail riding or whatever it might be. And then just fell in love with freeride. It feels like big, crazy BMX in a different way. It's the other side of the coin. BMX is about, a little bit more about precision. Freeride's more about just, you can just go so much bigger. And that's kind of where I am today. So, I've Seth to thank for renewing my next chapter.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very noticeable thing you do that I've seen a lot of other, people who transition from BMX do, is that they ride mountain bikes and they're constantly like scoping out the trail and looking for like different shit to ride.
Yep. It's from street riding.
Yeah.
Because where I grew up, we didn't really have much. We used to try and dig dirt jumps, but they just get plowed just next week every time. And we didn't know what we were doing. Street riding, on the other hand, was like, just go out, get creative, and just use your imagination. And that's really that's still the way I look at things today.
For sure. So what was your experience like post Crankworx? Did you get a lot of attention, a bunch of followers, anything like that?
It was kind of, it's kind of weird. Like, people would always stop me on trails, like, "Hey, you're that guy from that thing." And I'd be like, I just kind of wait for a second. They're like, Seth's video. And I'm like, it was exciting. It was cool. I kept texting Seth, like, "Oh my God, someone stopped me at Whole Foods and talking about mountain biking." Not like a whole lot of, maybe a bunch of followers. I don't have crazy amount, but probably a bunch of people from that. I don't think people knew where to find me or what to think, or, I didn't have any of my stuff geared towards, hey, I was doing BMX, but like, I didn't like promote any of that stuff. So not really, but it's definitely been cool meeting a lot of people from all over who stopped me. And I still get, as an Angel Fire get stopped. And, whenever I go on trips, California, people seem to know me from that video, which is pretty exciting.
That's cool. And do you like that? Or is it, I know it's something that some people don't like. They want to be approached. How do you feel about that?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been really shy. When I was a kid, and making friends is kind of hard for me. So having people just come up and be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" It's like, it helps, because I'm that guy who's always trying to be like, "Hey, you want to get a ride together?" or try and make friends. And, for me, I'll usually just kind of sit in the background, just do my thing, and hope like-minded people approach me.
For sure. So what % of the time would you say these days you spend riding or thinking about BMX as opposed to mountain bike or free ride?
Dude, that's so tough. So I definitely think about BMX here and there, because there's certain things you can't do on a mountain bike that you can do on a BMX. And
Sure.
There's certain aspects I miss, like, quarter pipes and stuff, which I'm trying to find quarter pipes for my big bike, which is something that's coming into freeride more and more. But I miss pegs. I definitely texted my man Dale over there recently. Do you know anybody who has a 3D printer? He said, "You do."
Oh, I do have one, yeah.
And I came up with this scheme to put pegs on my full suspension enduro bike. I definitely texted a few people about that, and they said, "What's wrong with you? like you have problems. Don't do it."
That sounds like it would make interesting content.
Seth definitely said, he was like, "Bro, what the hell?"
Yeah, I was wondering if you would have asked him about, like, maybe, hey, the engineering side of things. Surely there's some bike manufacturer engineer that's going to see that and shake their head and be like, "Oh, we never intended this." Yeah,
that's the thing, is he has that engineer brain, right?
Yeah.
So he's the first person I texted, and he was like, "Dude, you need a nap or something, man." Like, what? So I still found a way to do it. I still think I'm going to do it. Dylan Stark, somebody that I look at, because he rides very similarly to the way I would dream of riding. He kind of just has that eye, that former BMXer. What can you do on a mountain bike? Like, no limits. For me, I think he's a little bit braver than I am, as far as like being open-minded and not living in a box. I like, for whatever reason, I see other people do things. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I want to do it too." And instead of being brave and inventing stuff. And I definitely saw a post of his where he was doing a pedal grind, and someone said, "Oh, put pegs on a mountain bike." And he said, in the comments, pegs don't belong on a mountain bike. And then Gabriel Wimber, he put pegs on a mountain bike, and I thought that was cool. He of course had Canyon behind him engineering. I'm sure it took 9 months to figure out. But what I figured out is just a 3D printer and a lot of luck. So if you're down,
Do you know how to do 3D design?
Dale can help me with that, I'm sure.
Delegated.
So what's your contribution to this?
What, me? I will definitely find a lot of crazy rails to send myself down. Yeah, I definitely rails were one of my favorite things on BMX. So I think the biggest one I did was like a 24 stair.
We'll get entertainment out of this.
Yeah, definitely be entertaining. That's for sure.
So speaking of Dylan Stark, you guys both actually just returned from the Dylan Stark Jam in California. Tell us who Dylan Stark is, what that event was, and what it was like. What was your experience?
So he throws a jam at his local trails on 420 every year, and they're kind of like BMX style trails for a mountain bike, and they have some really big jumps there. So just wanted to go, want to push my limits. It's hard to find a jump with a 12-foot lip. I have a photo of Dale standing next to it, and it just shows how ridiculous the jump is. So, I just set my sights on going. Booked a ticket. Dale came along to film and hang out and ride, and it's awesome traveling with him. I mean, he and I think very similarly about things. And then, I went out there. I messaged, I posted that I was going. Dylan hit me up and said I could come out to day 6 of Stark Week. Which I know they're doing their thing. They're filming for their video, but it was really kind of him to say, come on out, check out the trails, kind of get to preview them, see all the pros just absolutely murder. Stuff like that every time it's amazing to watch and just being part of that. So I feel very fortunate. One of my big things is I absolutely love to go get to ride stuff people don't get to ride. I love riding the big jumps at Bentonville Bike Fest. Like, that's exciting for me. So to be part of that, something that was invite only felt really special. And then the 420 Jam is where it's open invite. Anybody can come out. So we went out there, had an absolute blast, got to hang with everybody, meet everybody. And, one of the big things for me is I don't know if I'd say lofty goals, but I want to do a lot of stuff in mountain biking and just starting to get to meet people, and, the world's about people, and, hopefully I can do more and more cool stuff because just, meeting people and I guess connections and whatnot.
Yeah. Networking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very few people realize there's the business aspect of it too. So,
yeah, it's weird. It's hard to look at it like that, but I mean,
yeah.
I just kind of think of it as, who do you want to hang out with? Hopefully I'm around. Hopefully people think what I do is cool and want to hang out with me, and I get opportunities to do really cool stuff, man. That's the biggest thing for me, is I've always just wanted to do the cool stuff that came up. Like, I was lucky enough to ride the X Games. Before they had X Games in Austin, they threw events in each city. I think there were 3 or 4 cities they were considering, and only a certain number of people got to invited to ride it. And when I showed up, somehow, I don't know how I got invited, but I showed up, and it's this huge street course, huge box jump right in front of the state capitol. And I have a picture of myself doing a tuck no hander in front of the state capitol in this X Games event before X Games, which did come to Austin. We kind of put out the biggest, I guess, a show out, and they picked Austin. And like, that's a hugely fond memory for me. Those sort of things I absolutely love getting into. So, I look back fondly on getting out to day 6, of Stark Week, me and Dale helping set up, put caution tape all over, and, put up the 420 Jam sign, and, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
just
cool.
It's amazing.
Who was your favorite rider of that week?
I mean, Dylan's, my favorite rider, just hands down. Like, I'll watch his videos and just get inspired all day. But Curtis Downs, man, good God. Tommy Krell was throwing some crazy stuff. I mean, everybody out there, going crazy.
It's kind of wild watching Andre Scheppel.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was just going to ask you, who was your favorite?
I think between Curtis and Andres, it was wild just watching him crash over and over again, and then get back on the bike and send it bigger and bigger. And like, the air that they were getting was just ridiculous. That was like
in the middle of a 360 tuck no hander or something like.
Yeah. I do think it is. I agree though. Like, my personal favorite is starting to get very, it's Dylan. Like, that's just, and for a lot of the same reasons you like him, I think also just kind of his personality I resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a lot of the people I would hang out with earlier in my 20s and everything. But watching him actually in person, like, we all saw, his Real Heat videos and the Dart Fest stuff, and hitting that quarter pipe at Dark Fest and those ridiculous whips. But seeing that in person and just how long he would have the bike leaned over for,
Dude.
or how long he would be hung out there with that whip and holding it, and just like pretty much at the very last minute, sometimes even landing like sideways. Just absolutely mental.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a little kid sometimes. Like I get just crazy stoked out and inspired watching these guys, almost to the point where like, you know, it's I just can't get enough of it. I just want to sit there and hang out and watch and just kind of, you know, be a fan. But I also want to be part of it too. So on to the next thing, man. Let's figure out what we're doing next. You know, Green River Classic.
Right. Well, so on Sunday when we were in California, you got to go to your buddy's backyard.
Yeah, Dan's house.
Yeah.
Dan Izzo, my man.
Yeah, and he had like just the most sick set of BMX trails back there. And they're so compact. And I was like, how the hell is Scott going to hit any of this? And eventually he found a line into the quarter pipe over the spine. But that was kind of cool. And that was when I think you talk about big bike BMX stuff, I think that was the perfect example of trying that out and getting a big 100%. Bike to work on those smaller features.
Yeah, it's interesting because certain setups don't work. Like, you know, I've tried to ride quarter pipes on my big bike, like my downhill, and it just doesn't really work. But a quarter pipe to a bank, you know, that definitely works. And you see the moto guys doing it, right? Like Colby Raha and stuff, just blasting out on the X Games. But yeah, his setup was perfect. And I've been looking for something like that. In fact, we tried to build something like that down the trails, and a bunch of you know, Saran kids came and had some fun and dug them up. So yeah, it's hard too, because the stuff I want to do requires stuff that most people A, would never hit, B, want to build, C, it requires land and patience and time and money and stuff. So that's a big reason I travel too so much. You know, and here in Austin, we're getting, you know, people, the groups out here are so amazing. I mean, we have Best Side, we have RPR, you know, we have Freeride 512. There's so many amazing spots to ride, and the stuff's getting bigger, man. There's an appetite for it too. And I feel like Bentonville is really, really, really cool. And it does a lot of the mountain biking stuff great. But I feel like not only does Texas do mountain biking well, but the free ride scene is starting to really grow. I just have a funny feeling we're going to be a destination for not just mountain biking, but free ride here.
What are we missing? What are we missing? What needs to happen?
70-foot jumps.
70-foot jumps.
Yeah, I think Bentonville's been extremely influential, like around the world, because every time it comes up and around here, it's like, what should we build? Like, oh, well, there's this section in Bentonville where they have this trail and they build it like this, and we should do something like that. And I hear that all the time, and it's awesome that they have all that, and they have that we're, you know, learning from them.
Yeah, and rightfully so, man. They, you know, they do it really well. And you know, I was lucky enough to hang out with some of the YT guys at the Jam before Bike Fest. They built out a line on Griffin Loop's property, and dude, they were really, really big jumps, and they were built incredibly well. And I think since YT's opened a mill out there, they want to kind of bring some of the bigger stuff to Bentonville, and I hope they do. That line was amazing. It kind of showed maybe Bentonville there's a appetite for stuff like that.
Oh, and yeah, and with people like Joe Skoda and Bobby, they're, you know, working on getting some of that big stuff.
The boys,
yeah,
doing their thing. Yeah.
So speaking of YT, you ride YT. How many YT bikes do you have?
Including my wife's?
Sure.
I think 7.
Oh my goodness.
I think 7. One's a dirt jumper that I'm going to sell because I bought the same one, different color. Because I like color. Yeah, I mean, you know, I ride YTs because when I was kind of looking at, you know, everybody I saw who's doing the stuff I wanted to do, spinning big bikes, bar spins, tail whips, all that stuff, they're always on a YT. And I mean, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have $10,000 for a Yeti. Those are amazing. Pivots are amazing stuff, but they're very, very expensive. And like, you know, also I wanted multiple bikes. I wanted downhill. I wanted a trail bike. I wanted a dirt jumper. And seeing all those guys just do what I wanted to do and also have it be more on the affordable side, like YT just made sense to me. And the funny thing about YTs, and I don't know how this is going to sound, but they're not like bikes that you get on. You're like, oh, this is a nice ride. When I first got it, I was like, you know, I was on my Diamondback for 3 years. And you know, it's a bike you just get on, pedal around, and it feels good.
That was a 4C, right?
5C.
5C, yeah.
Thank you, Diamondback and Seth, for hooking me up with a bike, because I don't know if it would have stuck.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a bike to ride. But yeah, when I get on the YT, it's kind of just like, oh, okay, like I have to be aware and more in attack position. I mean, every bike they make, even the Scepter, which is their gravel bike, is made with downhill in mind. And then the moment you get it into a place you need it, you're like, oh, okay, that's why they build it that way. Like, that bike, the bigger the jump, the bigger the gap is when it feels better and better and better and better. So, yeah, man, I'm, love those bikes.
I just got my first YT is a Scepter, but it's not built up yet. I actually just got a message from Wes on the way here. They got my parts, so I'm excited to get that put together and start riding it.
It's such a cool bike.
It's just there's been so much rain here lately, and I get stir crazy. I can't go ride my bike, and like I need another bike for when it's raining.
Yeah, I keep telling Taylor, my wife, that we need a Scepter and a Decoy, the e-bike, and
all of them.
Just get the whole thing.
And luckily for me, she's like, yeah, we do. And I'm like, okay, wait, I can't be that irresponsible. Like, I'm talking her out of it. So I'm very lucky in that regard.
So then what's your favorite primary bike, basically, and what's the build?
Oh, my 2S, the downhill with the single crown. I always want to be as prepared as I can for whatever craziness. You guys, we went out on a little ride today at Brushy Creek. I'm in full face helmet,
Sure.
fully padded up, ready to go. I found some stuff to get into, but like, the idea is who knows what I'm going to come across, what I'm going to see. We're taking a little trail ride. I see a drop off a bridge. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that sort of thing. Like, so if I could ride my downhill bike everywhere, I absolutely would. I rode it around Walnut Creek once and some dude was like, a downhill bike, what's wrong with you? Like, he got offended. Downhill bikes are polarizing to people sometimes.
Really?
Not just at Walnut Creek and little trails, but like, I don't know, you show up with a downhill bike and people are like, do you need all that? And it's like, well, I expect to,
Even Carson Storch was like, what are you doing, bro? When we went to
my downhill bike at Bentonville.
The clinic. And how many miles did we ride that day?
Oh my God. Yeah, I was cooked by the end of that. Single
crazy.
Speed. It's set up single speed. We're riding from Bentonville Bike Fest grounds all the way to Kohler.
Yeah, the
to
hub.
drop the hammer.
Did all that climb trail, single speed.
I'm like, Carson, I want a 360 the jump here. And he's like, these are not the jumps at 360. I'm like, okay, sir. But yeah, I have all sorts of wild ideas. And thank you, Dale, for always saying like, okay, yeah, sure, that could be possible. Let's get the camera out.
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
I work a corporate job. So I always have people like, don't get a concussion, don't break a bone. And like, I don't do well with naysayers. Shout out to my friend Mikey Luplow. He's a BMXer, rode on Mutiny, and he hated naysayers. And like, I take inspiration from very strong people a lot of times. And he used to just straight up just freak out on anybody who said, maybe you shouldn't. He's like, don't second guess me. Don't be a naysayer. Don't be a hater. So yeah, keeping your mind right on stuff like this is super important.
Dude, that helped me out today when you were like, oh, it's fun. Like when we were doing Mulligan.
Yeah, the big rock.
I was afraid to go commit on it, and you're like, actually, it's kind of fun.
It's kind of
I
fun.
was like, oh, okay, well, in that case,
yeah, man,
I'll do it.
A lot of visualization, a lot of positive thinking, a lot of like, don't just trust yourself sort of stuff. But I mean, some of the stuff that I've been lucky enough to roll up to in the past year or two, like that 12-foot lip at Dylan's Trails. I'm like,
Yeah.
geez, man.
Yeah, what was going through your mind looking down that line and working through it?
I should have hit it already and I should have tricked it. And that's before I felt, jumped off the first drop. Like for me, I know, I feel like if I can see it, I can do it. And then I just kind of get on myself, like, why haven't you done it yet? You got this. Like, don't hesitate. But everything, that was big. That's a big,
It's huge, yeah.
big jump, man. But that's what I'm, it's hard. Here's the thing about free ride that's really tough. All the stuff that I say I want to do and feel like I want to do, I won't get to do until if I'm ever lucky enough to show up and look down the barrel of a 70, 60, 80, 90 foot jump. I don't know until I'm there. Right. So like, imagine I would say like, oh God, I'd love to ride Darkfest. Imagine I showed up Darkfest tomorrow, looking at a 110-foot jump. Like, would I do that? I like to think yes, but I mean, it's a confidence game. A lot of this. So I'm just trying to travel around, get into as much as I can. Like, that's why I'm looking forward to Green River this year. I had no idea what to expect last year. I saw the biggest stuff I've ever seen, shout out to, Aiden Parrish, just standing right next to him as he no-footed can and suicide no-hander like a 50, 60-foot drop. And I literally stood at the top of it and just went, there's no landing. And I was like, yeah, it's over there, all the way down there. I was like, no, it's not possible. There's no way. And then just right past me. And I was just, at first I said, he's insane. No one should ever do this. This is absurd. And then I was like, it's doable. So, I mean, a big part of freeride is like, it lets me challenge myself and kind of see what I'm capable of too. So yeah, man, it's reinvigorated everything.
It's funny how quickly your mind changes on that kind of thing.
Dude, you have no idea. I want to, flip. I want to do flip variations, flat spins, tail whips, bar spins. I've had success to varying degrees with all of those tricks. Like, at first I'm like, no, I'm good. Just ride and enjoying life. Next thing you know, I'm just a dead man, tricks everywhere. Like, yeah, it changes real quick. I'm ambitious.
So you guys just got back from Bike Fest as well. How did that go? What was that like experience like?
Bike Fest is always amazing. All the Bentonville people are really cool. Usually I get to see my guys at Lomelander there every year. They weren't able to make it this year. But it was amazing nonetheless. So, I mean, think about it, man. It's Bentonville in the first place.
Sure.
And then you have a million people, all like-minded people gathered, for the right reasons, I guess. It's free, so anybody can go. And then there's just a million people just trying to get rad. Like, it was incredible. Dale, what do you think, man?
Oh, I thought it was sick. Like the YT Mill grand opening, that was kind of neat. I guess
that was fun.
It was cool to go to Bentonville and have like so many industry people there and kind of like the bike celebrities and stuff like that. And that was a neat experience, I guess. Maybe if you really want to ride and everything, that's not the best weekend to go.
It's so crowded.
Yeah, totally crowded. But I think for the experience and just the people watching aspect of it, and yeah, it was really neat. What was your favorite part of it, do you think?
I don't really know, honestly, man. It's just so for me, it's never really one thing. It's the whole experience. It's getting coffee at Onyx or at Heroes beforehand. Just hang with the crew. It's going out to dinner at night. I like that as much as the riding. But Drop the Hammer was especially fun this time.
Yeah.
I was just trying to throw down as many tricks as possible this time. So I was feeling good. It was fun.
What was it like? What was it like doing the YT dirt jump jam and everything?
Real talk?
Yeah.
Freaky.
Yeah.
It's freaky. I show up and it's me, a couple other guys who are rad, who I, don't really know, and then every pro ever. And I'm looking at, Carson Storch and Kyle Strait and just, Dylan Stark and all these guys. And I'm like, these guys are unbelievable. What am I doing here? So I just try and show up, do the best I can. But it was the most rewarding experience. Like for me, that's what I love. I love going to things people aren't. You have to be lucky to go to stuff like that. And for me, I feel very fortunate to get to do that. And it just, it makes my whole life. That's what I look forward to. Like, shout out to Seth for letting me do this Whistler thing back in 2018. Like that was amazing. Like who gets to do that? That's crazy.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, the YT Gem was incredible. Everybody's super nice. Good to see a couple people again. Talked to Kyle Strait, recognized me. I was like, oh my God, like, wow, a little
fangirling.
Yeah, big time. And then I just tried to show out and just, do well and, earn my place on those jumps, just throwing down whatever I could. And it was amazing. Yeah.
I was super stoked on the rail yard session, I think, and just like running into people from Austin in Bentonville.
The squad.
Yeah, and like we knew a lot of folks were going to be there the same weekend, but there were some surprises too.
Yeah, I think that happened even when we were there. Like the whole time we were there, we're bumping into people from Austin.
Yeah, like one of our homies from South Austin who used to ride a lot of South Austin Trail Network on single speed, Jason Smith. Mm-hmm. He moved to Bentonville and he got a job at Fat Tire. And so Clint had to get his bike fixed. We needed a chain. And so we went into Fat Tire. And he was the first person we saw when we went into Fat Tire. We were like, hey, Jason, what's up? And so we had a long conversation with him. That was pretty cool. But then, yeah, just seeing so many people, like we went into the YT Mill for the grand opening. And I saw Bobby from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby Parker.
So he was
No,
working there.
Bobby Badelic.
Oh.
From.
I was gonna say Bobby Parker works there too now.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
from Austin. And like I look up and on the second floor, there's somebody wearing this shirt actually.
Dude,
And I was
how
like,
cool was that?
That was like the sickest thing. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh shit, it's Bobby. And I was like, oh, that's so sick. So yeah, just it was like the whole MTV family was up there in Bentonville
Yeah.
for that week.
I think they think about Austinites the same way that Austinites think about Californians.
I'm sure of it. Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Oh, it's so funny.
And then you want to talk about the weather event you experienced there?
Yeah, there was a weather event, that's for sure.
Dale saved our lives.
Yeah, well, we were lucky. Clint and I were up late. We both are kind of like night owls, and so we were up for a while on the back patio, just hanging out, and we saw the lightning coming in. This was maybe like 1:30, and so we were like, "Oh, so it looks like it's probably going to rain tonight." And then all of a sudden, we hear these sirens going off. Like, what the hell are those tornado sirens? And like, it's clearly tornado sirens, but they're off in the distance and everything, so they weren't super loud.
It's just got that spooky drone to it.
Yeah, spooky drone, long drawn out and everything. And so we were like, well, that's interesting. And so I went back in the house to grab my phone and look for weather alerts. And when I went inside, over the air conditioning in the house, you couldn't even hear the tornado sirens. So if we were already in bed sleeping, we wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I was sleeping.
Yeah, and I wasn't getting local alerts for weather either. I was still thinking I was in Austin, apparently. And so I had to get it set so that it was actually thinking I was in Bentonville and I would get the local alerts. And so I got the tornado warning. I was like, oh, apparently there's a tornado warning for Bentonville. And then a little while later, we got another warning that was like pretty targeted. It was like precise location sort of thing, you know? And
Yeah, it actually said our Airbnb number on it. No, I'm just kidding.
right, you will die. Yeah, and so we're stubborn for a bit, just kind of looking out the window and kind of just seeing what was going to happen. And then I think once the rain band started going literally like sideways and like branches were hitting the side of the house, we were like, all right, it's probably time to seek shelter. And so we knocked on their door, woke them up, huddled in the bathroom, and no sooner than we got in the bathroom, we hear this boom. And you can tell like there's wind starting to buffet at my bedroom door and everything, and the window just blew in, like I guess just from the air pressure and everything. And so grabbed all my camera gear out of there really quick. Probably shouldn't have fussed with any of that, but I did. And
I would have.
yeah, well, yeah. And so got all the camera gear out there, threw it in the bathroom with us, and then just we kind of rode it out. And Clint was smart enough to like put the pane of glass like back up against the windowsill and prop it in with like a broomstick, so it kept the room from getting like too badly soaked. But by the time it was over, like everything was soaked in there. The neighborhood was just screwed up. Like the neighbor's house had a tree on it.
Every house had a tree on it.
Yeah, the car across the street had a tree on it.
Yeah, it was wild.
And the people across the street, they're in town for Bike Fest. I think there were some other folks on the street as well for Bike Fest. And so like there's obviously a lot of Airbnbs in the area. And our friends were there too. They had rentals and we were getting texts from them. And then we were also watching Brett, Tippy, and Dylan were live streaming from Aaron Ross's Airbnb there.
Yeah.
They're like, well, try to save the Airbnb, Aaron. And so that was like kind of comic relief for the whole thing. Like I probably would have been a little bit more nervous if it wasn't for the fact that like so many of our homies were experiencing this exact same situation that we were going through. But a couple of folks were like way worse than we were. Like they, Jackie and Kevin's Airbnb, like their whole guest room.
They sent me a photo. It was just water coming in.
Crushed by a tree. And then Austin's Airbnb, they had like branches sticking through the ceiling of the living room, and their entire back patio was knocked down by a tree. And before we were even able to leave on Sunday, we had to actually chainsaw this huge tree up at the top of the road. And so it was like kind of weird, but yeah, it is 39 years of getting tornado warnings in Austin. and I've never really paid much attention to them. And then this was the first time it actually mattered. And we could tell, like, and the next day the helicopter was flying what I assume would be the storm damage path. It was like a block and a half away from where we were.
Yeah, when Dale's like, get in the bathroom, tornado. I was like, oh, okay, it's just going to be a little windy. And I opened the door and just like absolute pandemonium. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, Dale.
Yeah.
But yeah, the homies kind of, all the homies being out there, like some of the guys are posting, like there's a million ticks out. Apparently they're calling it Tick-nado and stuff like that. Like, so it was a really tough situation for a lot of people, but I talked to some of the people at Bike Fest, and everybody seems to be doing good and volunteering and getting the trails back. And this, everybody's feeling, from what I can tell, like, banding together over there. So scary stuff, but I mean, they're resilient.
Yeah. And I wonder too, like, well, I doubt it's going to change much, but I did see, like, on Reddit, after the tornado came through and everything, some of the locals were like questioning how many Airbnbs are in the area and if it's good for the community, because typically in like a situation like that, the community bands together and helps each other out, helps each other recover. Like, you got a house or a tree in your house and your neighbors might help you out.
Right.
But there are no neighbors in Bentonville. They live in another state. And so you might never actually see them, you'll only ever see the insurance adjusters out there, and then whatever construction crews are going to do whatever they got to do. And so I think there was kind of like this realization from this storm for some of the locals that there's not much of a robust locals community there, and that there's a lot of tourism stuff, but I don't know if it necessarily matters to us down here in Austin, but it was something that I thought was kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah. Anywhere else you've been riding lately?
Local or like kind of,
or like trips? Yeah.
Dale, I have no memory for this, man. Where did I go last? Was it Green River Classic was my last trip, I think?
Yeah, I think before we went to California, you had gone to Green River Classic.
Yeah, that was an amazing trip. So trying to get back this year. Hopefully, you can go.
Yeah, I would love to.
I mean, a little side note. I'm always curious about your perspective, Dale, because like, we've gone on trips, doing filming and stuff. Like, what's your favorite part of coming out and lugging a camera around and, getting to see, other people ride, or maybe try and film me do some crazy stuff?
I mean, I've always felt like I've lived vicariously through people. There's a lot of things that I think it would be sick to be able to do, but I can't do myself. And so it's neat to be able to tell stories about that sort of stuff and be able to be like right there. And plus I've never really been like afraid of, I'm shy myself. I don't really necessarily like to be on camera. But I've also never been like afraid to stick a camera in someone famous's face and ask them questions or something like that. I just like talking to people and finding out what people think about things and tell the story. And so, yeah, that's what's fun for me. Is just getting out and finding ways to tell stories and also to get sick shots. Like, I think it's neat to try to up the game, just like you're trying to up your riding game, up the shooting, and get like better shots, cooler looking shots, like the shot that Clint did today.
That was cool.
Where he was following you with the phone. Like, that's really sick. That one I sent you where they used two different vehicles to do like a follow cam sort of thing. That's really sick. And then there's the technology aspect of it. It's like a big Legos kit, sort of. And so you get to play around with gear, which is always sick. But yeah, I think, and just being able to go to Cali and kind of travel with you and see that whole side, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super fun, man. I always have these ideas that we're going to be doing a shoot for something one day. You're going to have a glide cam and a budget of Red Bull budget or something, man.
So
or
sick.
Yeah. But like,
Yeah.
we always send each other videos, the Commensal, videos where they do a really good job, or the YT videos. I always love the behind the scenes, like the Braga video, like for his X Games Real MTB part. I don't know if you guys saw the behind the scenes. I know you did.
Yeah.
But like, that's the stuff that gets me even more stoked. Little side note, one thing that's kind of funky about Freeride, and it's a big reason I like to travel and try and meet people. I don't know if the free riders out there who are successful see it the same way I do, but suspension's confusing. All these crazy tricks on big bikes, like, it is a huge learning curve. At least there is for me, like huge. It took me, I don't know, maybe I'm just slow, but it took me 3 years to realize what free ride was. I want to pick people's brains. I want people to, help. I'm always like asking a million questions of people. Let's put it this way. I've been trying to figure out how to set my suspension up for big stuff for a long time. Did a clinic with Kyle Straight. He got on my bike. He goes, this is way harder than I'd ride it even at Rampage. I looked at Kyle. I was like, dude, this is embarrassing. I took like 30 PSI out last night because I had a feeling you'd say that. He's like, dude, what are you doing? So, a big part of traveling for me is leveling up and just trying to figure this whole thing out. And I know you and I have been talking about maybe doing a video, starting to film some dead man freaking street spots and craziness and builds and stuff like that. But, for me, I appreciate you coming along and, having similar visions that I do. And you're awesome to film with too, man. Cause I'm like, oh, I messed up one more time, a million times. And you're just like, dude, you got it. So,
yeah, it's fun to film you. It's fun to work with you. Like it was cool going to California, and I mean, I'll see some of the features and maybe I'll keep my mouth shut cause I don't want to, be positive and stoke you up. But
thank you.
When we get to Dylan Stark's little bandit venue there for the 420 jam, and I'm looking at these features, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is insane. And then like the natural dirt step up, when we went over and looked at that, and it was kind of like, I could tell that you had set it in your mind, like, that's okay. That's the warm up. That's the first thing that you're going to hit. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's the first thing you're going to hit. That's insane. And it was just so huge. And then, yeah, you dropped right into it and hit it and cleaned it. And it was like, okay, well, we're set here. We're cooking now. And then everything else looked relatively cool. I was like, all right, Scott's got this, he'll have to work through it. But, yeah, I think it's funny. Like the crux kind of ended up being that long and low after all.
Dude, the 30-foot hip long and low or whatever it was, that thing was scarier than the big 12-foot lip.
Yeah.
Sometimes things you don't expect, setup jumps,
I'm sure you feel like pressure when you're about to roll into that stuff too, especially when it's like around other athletes and everything, and you got other people's eyes. I mean, you got like Bender is out there announcing everybody rolling in, and so you got Josh Bender freaking announcing you as you jump into this line.
In the past 2 months, I've had Josh Bender and Brett Tippie announcing me as I'm riding, like jams, whatever. It's not like, but oh my God, right? Like, I want to say childhood me is freaking out, but me as of, when I learned about these guys 3 years ago is freaking out as I'm riding. It's, but I love it. I love that sort of pressure does it for me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wild and it's kind of scary. It's nerve wracking, but it's also like the best feeling, at least for me.
Well, it's an interesting time we're in where you don't have to be like the greatest sports anything to make money doing sports, because you can just like make very short videos and upload them to social media and be successful that way. You can get sponsors that way. Like they don't care if you're an amazing rider. They just care that you're showcasing the brand and that people are watching your videos.
Mm-hmm. I love that personally. I mean, like there's so many people with very different viewpoints, and whether you're like a comedy, TikToker or Instagram guy, or, you're one of those guys who can do all the crazy tricks in the world, or maybe you're just on a journey, like, hey, I'm trying to, figure out how to do cooler stuff and set up my bike. Like, I don't know. I love help and information. I benefit from that a lot. So, it's cool. It's not like it used to be. Like I always looked at NBA and everybody's trying to shoot the same shot, or football. There's creativity in it, but to a point, right? Baseball, creativity, but to a point. I always saw like Scottie Pippen. I used to watch the Bulls back in the day, Jordan Pippen, and he took the ball, like he was on the sidelines and he had to pass the ball in, and he bounced it off somebody's back and took it back in himself. And like that little bit of creativity is what really did it for me. And if we were all focusing on the best rider, I feel like it'd become homogenized, right?
Yeah.
BMX has an underground right now that's a lot of really cool creative riding. But the kind of pro level, the people making money at contests, they're doing a lot of the same stuff. Like it's just one more tail whip, triple tail whips, 360 triple tail whips, backflip double tail whips, right? I feel really happy that social media allows for all the different creativity and different approaches to our sport and the fun behind it. Even the people who are in vans, you know, showing off their vans so you can go out and ride and not have to ride a corporate job. Like to me, that's just as valuable as seeing somebody do a 60-foot drop or, you know, whatever other cool, you know, thing a mountain biker would do.
I think people are just looking for genuine characters that resonate with them too. You know, like even if you're not the best, if they see a little bit of themselves in you, then you're their new favorite rider. Like those kids when we were at RPR,
Yep.
you know, and they were like, they're your freaking biggest fans. They're like, you're the best rider ever. And you're hitting that quarter pipe. They're like, yo.
It's funny you say that, man. I've always said I love characters. I guess maybe it's just me growing up being kind of on the shyer side as a kid. Like I love people who aren't afraid to just be themselves and be wacky and be interesting. And, you know, being an individual is amazing. I always try to kind of blend into the background. So I take a lot of inspiration from those people. So yeah, characters, man. It just makes the world that much richer.
Well, what I was getting at is that, you know, you guys could work together and start a business if you really wanted to.
Okay, talk to me.
I mean, you could be
investment tips with Brooke.
I was just going to say, you
I
could
was
invest
saying,
in.
you know, you could be a pro rider, and that wouldn't necessarily mean that you're, you know, racing or competing or in any kind of competitions, but, you know, just like making videos and putting them online and getting sponsorships. And
look at Matt Jones. The guy can't even fakie, and he's out there. He's everybody's favorite rider.
Yeah, but he could do everything but fake.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't at me, Matt.
But no, you're right. You're right. And that's a really cool thing, and that's something that, I mean, it's a dream. You really have to be something special for that to work, though. I mean, I think there's more money in mountain biking than there is in BMX, but I still don't think there's a lot of money where people can make. Unless you're the upper echelon, unless you're like, I don't know how well normal mountain biker does, but I imagine he does pretty well in social media. Or, you know, Christian Pepper, I think he rides full time. He's got a family. He has to be, you know, living well enough to support his family. But yeah, that's the dream. If you have any ideas,
well, I'm just saying,
talk to me, man.
You don't have to be like crazy good. You just have to make a lot of videos and post them often. You know what I mean?
You're right.
That's the key to, if you wanted to kind of monetizing that path.
If you have any suggestions for how to actually monetize that path, let me know.
I mean, it just comes with, it's like all things and, you know, social media and YouTube and all that kind of stuff is people, it starts with a passion and you have to do it, and you have to do it a lot, and you have to care about it. And it might take years and years, but eventually, you know, you amass a certain size following, and then you hear from corporate people and they want to put their name in your videos. And then again, you know, they don't care if you're the best rider in the world. They just care that people are seeing their brand.
No, you're right. You know, I see people sponsored by like, I guess Ford, right? Like the Bronco and stuff like that. Like, who would have thought of that?
Yeah,
you know?
outdoor lifestyle brands and
Outdoor
stuff like that.
lifestyles,
Yeah.
right? So get at me, Ford.
All right, we get some community questions here. So Jason Carney asks, Fufanu or Abubka?
Abubakar.
I'm glad you knew what that was.
Yeah, I say Abubakar because, you know, coming back in fakie, it seems harder, but when you're going to stall on your back tire on the coping, I don't want to turn around and flip over. Yeah, Abubakar.
That was probably the best question on the list right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Jason. You're the man.
Dale asked, Mayo or Miracle Whip?
Oh my God.
Do I have to pick? Can I say mustard or horseradish?
Yeah,
I'm a mustard guy, man.
Absolutely. I don't know how that question ended up on the paper.
Definitely mayo.
You posted it.
Definitely mayo. Dude, I've been on a health journey trying to get myself in shape for lots of, you know, endeavors and shenanigans. So,
well, that's good, because that's our next question from Ray Frazier is, what is your training regimen, if any?
Man, okay. So I started taking health more seriously probably about 1.5 2 years ago, dealing with old injuries, dealing with some injuries that keep cropping up, and just not performing the way I want to. Like I said, I have aspirations. So started working with a bunch of personal trainers. They just kept injuring me. Eventually found this doctor named Dr. Sam LaCroix. He's at the Whole Athlete, and he's amazing. I haven't been hurt from any of my old injuries since I started working with him. So I'm in the gym night after night. I do cardio rides. I do walks to kind of help myself deal with some of that stuff. And yeah, so I'm locking in. I'm meal prep my wife meal preps for me. Thank you, Taylor, because I'm so scatterbrained. But yeah, I eat 2 meal preps per day, and then whatever she's having for dinner, if it's not something healthy, I'm meal prepping again. So working, I'm down quite a bit of weight. I'm getting stronger. I'm not getting hurt as much. The old injuries aren't bothering me. So yeah, I'm full on. But Dr. Sam is amazing.
Excellent. Next question is from Lionel Hernandez, and it's the obligatory question: is clipless or flats?
I used to joke if you ever see me in clips, just push me off a cliff. But I'm developing appreciation for other things. I probably will never ride clips in my life, but I mean, you said you just got a gravel grinder. Clint, Cactus Flats Newman used to talk about, riding his gravel grinder. And I'm just like, dude, I can't imagine it. Now I can imagine it, but I'm also seeing like the health aspect of riding too. And, I want to live a long time. So maybe if I get a gravel grinder, do you clip on those?
I don't clip in on anything.
I'm never clipping in.
I
follow what Dale says.
I'm not a graceful person. I have no balance. Clips would probably kill me.
Yeah, I'd probably end up in the trees.
Clint rides trail clipped in.
Yeah, I will. No, flats all day.
Yeah.
DDT max on every bike I ride.
Yeah, specifically flats that have most of their pedal pins just falling out, so no traction.
Yeah, I mean, I like flats just because you really need to be, for what we're doing, is to be able to get your foot off quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely if I'm on gravel or road or whatever, I definitely run clipless for that. There is like some extra efficiency there. It's also like your foot is constantly in exactly the right position.
Mm-hmm. That would be
so
nice.
Yeah, that's, like trying to constantly move your foot around to get it in the right position.
The right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Little side note, this is kind of odd. I always felt uncomfortable on my pedals. Every pedal, BMX pedals, mountain bike pedals, until I got the DDT Max. They're gigantic. I have a size 13 foot.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Absolute game changer for me.
I'm the same way. I mean, hands and feet. I wear double XL gloves and I still rip them because they're too small.
Dang, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the right tool for the right job. I mean, I'm neurotic about bike setup. I don't take care of my bike at all, but if something's off, I can't ride.
WDZ Howard asks, flour or corn?
Oh, flour all day. I've only had corn tortillas once that I liked. I know they're traditional. This was like a traditional place. It was amazing, but not the best Mexican food ever. Flour.
Yeah. But you, Dale?
Oh yeah, flour.
Yeah, Team flour all around.
Nice. I should have asked.
Brian Preston asks, how much did the BMX background lend to doing higher level tricks and skills when transitioning to MTB? Do you think you'd be where you are skill wise without that background?
No, I don't think so at all. BMX is huge for tricks. I mean, think about the nature of the bike. I mean, it's tiny. You have to control everything. So mountain bikes, they're not easy to control. And they're very grounded. They're big bikes, big wheels. I still try and ride my mountain bike like a BMX, but I also have that reference point. And I also had a ton of tricks that I get to bring over. Adapting them has not been too hard. Cans are a little different, higher top tube, knack, stuff like that. But for the most part, to be honest, I find the tricks easier on the mountain bike just because maybe it's because I'm a bigger guy and I feel like the bike fits me better. It always used to take me, excuse me, it used to take me like an hour to warm up on my BMX bike. But I don't think I've ever had a BMX bike that actually fit me. But yeah, the BMX background will help like crazy. Get a BMX bike, find a fly out, and just start throwing tricks, and then you can just bring it to your mountain bike super easy.
I actually did get one, and I couldn't do it, man. It's just
crazy,
it's
right?
Too small. It's too twitchy. But I think the DJ is a good middle ground for me.
DJ is definitely a good middle ground.
Yeah,
really good. And something funny that I heard, I'm curious if you guys agree. Someone said that DJs are really good because it's near impossible to go from like a full-size mountain bike to a BMX in the same day without taking like hours to get acclimated. But you can go from a mountain bike to a DJ or a DJ to a BMX back and forth. But yeah, it'd be very difficult to go from like a BMX to a mountain bike or vice versa.
Yeah,
it's interesting,
sure.
Right? But DJs are great though. I'm still trying to figure out DJs. I don't know if it's a mountain bike or a BMX, and it literally scrambles my brain every single time.
It is neither.
It is. Yeah. My I've always heard it described as a mountain bike. So
Me too.
Yeah.
Also, all the real MTB parts, people were on dirt jumpers, and I don't know why. I was
Yeah.
surprised. It's cool. They are mountain bikes, but I was surprised to see that. I guess they are technically mountain bikes.
Yeah, I mean, I always explain it in the way that like mountain bikes, you're most of the time you're just cruising down the trail, right? And you might have a feature here and there that you play around with. But when you're on BMX, that's like literally the only thing you do. There's no trail to ride. You just do tricks the whole time.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're not, it's not actual BMX racing. Yeah, you're riding jumps, you're riding street or park, or not too many people ride flatland, but still that's focused around tricks and proficiency on the bike. So yeah, BMXs are definitely helped me immensely. I did get on my BMX recently, and I was just like, this thing is so small. I couldn't ride it, but I do want to build one up.
Yes.
Definitely going to build one up.
So Chris Armstrong asks, without context, hard or soft?
Go hard every day.
based on your suspension setup too, I would have to say that's accurate.
Yes.
I think we may have covered this one already, but Johnny Catanzano asks, dirt jumper or full squish for progressing into bigger jumping /
Ooh,
tricks?
that's kind of a different question.
For me, full squish all day.
Yeah.
For everybody else, I'd say dirt jumper. It's just like, I feel like there's a lot more to control. It's a lot bigger bike.
Yeah.
It just, for me, I feel like my downhill bike is the perfect bike. It feels like what I always wanted a BMX bike to feel like. That's why I have it set up for bar spins and tail ups and stuff. But I'm 6'3", and I don't know. It feels like it's a gigantic BMX bike for me for going insane. But for most people, I definitely recommend dirt jumper. I think.
I would agree. I would agree with full squish, but for like different reasons. And like I think it's stability and forgiveness. So on a DJ, it still retains a little bit of that BMX twitchiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so the big bike's going to be more stable, I think, for a lot of people. And then when you land, you're going to have a lot more suspension and a lot more forgiveness. And so me, somebody who gets scared of big jumps, if I was to approach it and you were to say, hey, here's two different options, you can pick the big bike or the dirt jumper, I'd be like, please give me that big bike.
That's interesting. I feel like you have more. So, like BMXs are made for precision, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for bigger jumps, having a little bit more precision, like knowing what your bike's going to do off the lip. Because there's been plenty of times I've hit a lip on my full suspension and just gotten pitched in the strangest way because I didn't hit the preload properly, or, my back suspension, the rebound is set up a little bit, maybe too fast for a jump like that. So I feel like, I guess it's to each his own, but I feel like the dirt jumper is more predictable. And then is it for tricks or just for bigger jumps?
Yeah, bigger jumps, bigger tricks.
For tricks, the other thing too is like, do a can on a BMX bike or a dirt jumper. You're going to throw your leg over on the third try. On a big, full suspension bike, like you have to bring your knee up to your chin and kick it out. It's like, it's just so different. It's bigger, but you're also kind of like more planted. It's harder for you to throw yourself around. So I think also the bike follows you. When you get really good on a BMX or a dirt jumper, the bike can follow you. So if you want to lean over and throw that can, the bike just leans under you and you throw your leg out. When you're on a mountain bike, it's kind of like there's a huge, it's also fighting your body. So I don't know.
I think if you're talking about like progressing, which that kind of is, your point, holds water, because you get a lot of that like finer control, and I guess maybe you don't learn bad habits, you don't pick up big habits on the full suspension. But yeah, if you were to just say, dump me in front of a big jump and say, here's two different bikes you can pick for this, what are you going to pick?
Full squish, that makes sense.
Pick that full squish.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lee Compton asks, toilet paper rolls in or out?
Out. In is wrong. Out for sure.
Incorrect underhanded fashion.
I will change. I'm not like OCD about many things. I will change it.
I think The Simpsons answered this question.
Really?
Yeah.
They said out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. The underhanded fashion was incorrect.
Okay, so the correct answer is out.
Yes.
All right.
Last question.
Last question I have, and then I think you have some more on Instagram. Chris Wood asks, top 3 bike parks in America.
Only been to Whistler, Trestle, Angel Fire. I think those are the only ones I've been to. Dude, I mean, okay, so take this with a grain of salt. Whistler is much more suited to what I'm looking for. The first time I went was all about jumping, had an absolute blast. The second time I went with Seth and Alex, single track sampler, and it was raining. I was glad I was with them because they showed me about tech, and I fell in love with tech at that point. When I went to Trestle and Angel Fire, there were a bunch of good jumps, but I was looking for tech. Maybe I was looking for the wrong thing. But somebody described it as these parks are fun because you want to go as fast as you can. Like that's your goal. I don't look to go fast necessarily. Speed doesn't do it for me. You know, flirted with the idea of racing under MTB ATX, and I think we're going to get some races going on
if we can stop getting injured,
dude. But yeah, I think Whistler, and Whistler for me. You know, those other parks are awesome. I probably would love them if I focused on the jumps at that time.
Well, did it ask specifically about America, the U.S.?
Oh, dang.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Free Ride Top one too. For
That's a
sure.
good one. I like that one.
Yeah, Station Mountain for sure. No, Station Mountain's great because it focuses on jumping. I love riding Spider. You know, the thing about Spider too is like, for me, learning how to handle the bike in more of like a race scenario, it's perfect. It's got everything I need. So I guess, what can I say? Station Spider.
For sake of argument, let's call the bike park at Reveille Peak a bike park too. Where does that fit into the question?
Number one.
Yeah, number one.
I love RPR.
Yeah.
Even before they built all that, when I first went there, just something about the vibes and the dirt, and it's just always been one of my favorite places. Feels really soothing to me. So having all those really cool features, it's just, that's where I get in my like, Zen place, and I could just ride there all day. Even if just a trail, I love the trails out there too, but yeah, the free ride stuff. So, yeah, RPR is awesome.
All right. What do you got next?
I got a couple things from Instagram, which is cool. Some about how Luca Bruckley said, "What inspires you?" That's a tough question to answer, man.
It's a loaded question for sure.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer that. I think that maybe being able to hang with the people who I look up to inspires me. I'm working to get better and better on the bike, and the journey. It's not the destination necessarily; it's the journey. And I've always loved the road trip to the destination just as much. When we take off for Bentonville for a weekend, I'm stoked out of my mind. Where are we stopping? What are we eating? What drinks are we getting? Which Starbucks or coffee shops? So yeah, I think chasing it, man, just absolutely chasing it, and then getting little wins along the way or big wins along the way. That inspires me. That's my favorite thing. So thank you for the question. Taylor, my wife said, "How do you get your arms so far back and tuck no handers?" The real answer, I try to break them off my body. I literally hurt every single time I try and break them off. It usually works pretty good. So good question. James Trails. This is interesting. If it's okay, could you create awareness for any mountain biker considering visiting Kenya? There's bike trails.
Oh, I follow him.
Do you?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah. So I see, a single track sampler, Alex, he goes to Peru. Ryan Rodriguez goes somewhere overseas too. And I see some of the free riders take trips out to more remote locations with things that have never really been ridden before. And there's a lot of different scenes going on all over, not just well-established scenes like you see Queenstown, right, in New Zealand, and there are a lot of bike parks in Europe. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see that. So shout out to anybody listening. Kenya, go ride in Kenya. It's probably awesome. Dale, we should go to Kenya next.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I don't know how good it is, but
Right.
ever drunk Bailey's from a shoe?
Oh my God.
I'm old Greg.
Daniel Ricciardo.
That's from my man Taylor Ernest. So good question, I think. My man Carson Wooten. So I lived in Utah for about 6 months. Moved out there for the riding. I moved right in the beginning of winter. It's just kind of how it worked out. I'm dumb and didn't realize Virgin's 3.5 hours away. I had to go to Salt Lake because that's kind of where my office was located. So I didn't really get out to Virgin aside from when I went to Rampage. But I don't know that I am coming back to Utah to live, even though I've talked to Taylor about that a little bit. But soon, man, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to get there as soon as I possibly can. So I'll hit you up. My man, Jamin Burgess, dude. So his question is, where's the first spot you jumped a bike? He actually built some trails behind a gas station down in the town that I lived in, and they were unbelievable. Like they were really, really, really good. Made fast friends with him, and I'm still friends with him to this day. And almost got kicked out of the trails because they said, do not walk through the gas station. You will get the trails plowed. This is before I knew anything. And I walked through the gas station one day just to get out because I was late. And one of the guys named Luke, I mean, these guys were like the scary older kids. I think Jamin's like, I don't know how much older, but scary older kids. And I was wearing a red beanie. He goes, hey, little Red Riding Hood, get over here. You're dead. And I think I ran. And I was scared to go back. And every time I went back, I'm like looking over my shoulder, trying to jump. But yeah, it's I don't even know the name of the trails, man, but that was the first place, little spot in my town. And then I think that's it, man. That's all I got.
What are your thoughts on electronic shifters and seat posts and things like that? Have you tried them?
Hate them and love them and never tried them. Like, it'd be really cool to be able to do, the stuff I want to do, which I'm still working on, like bar spins and tail whips, and not have to take my bike apart every time. You guys probably saw that ribbon that I have around my head tube today. Yeah. That's because I took my front brake and shifter off, and I mounted my shifter under the frame because I saw Dylan do it, and it was a smart idea. And just took off my front brake, and now I can bar spin my trail bike just by doing that. So yeah, I'd love to, but I'm terrible at technology. I'm terrible at bike maintenance. I will never remember to charge it. I will show up with my bike not functioning every single time. So it's probably not going to happen for me anytime soon. I'm more of that, just, grab an Allen key and modify it as best as I can. And I'm a terrible bike mechanic. So yeah.
I already know, but I'm going to ask you anyway, Dale. What do you think?
Oh, as far as electronic, yeah, I'm all about it. Yeah. I mean, I think a seat post is probably a little excessive. I don't really need that. If I could have it, I would take it in a heartbeat.
Somebody gave it to you?
Yeah. I love my Access. I got it secondhand for a good cost, for a good price. If you can find it that way, that's like the easiest way to do it. But it's a game changer, just being able to mash the button and have the whole, gear range at your disposal. It helped with climbing, because I'm a terrible climber. And so that helped a lot. But yeah, I like it. I'm never going to support wireless braking if they want to do any of that stupid crap. Like, always give me a mechanical connection,
Yeah, shifting or seat. I'm kind of hoping Brooks is like, look under your chairs. You have an electronic shifter.
Who is this podcast sponsored by?
Oprah Winfrey.
An Oprah Winfrey production.
All right. Last question for you, Scott. What's next for Scott Smith?
Dude. I hate talking about that because it's like you gotta call your shot, right? And you gotta put it out there. It's the sort of thing where like, oh, okay, I'm gonna, I was talking to Dale the other day or today, and I'm like, I'm gonna do no-handed backflips. I'm gonna do flat spins, bar spins, tail whips by the end of this month. And so, for me, like, I was trying to call my shot, but I call my shot in private a little bit. If I had my dream, I would be able to go to invite-only competitions, big air competitions. I'd be in Freeride Fiesta, Fire Ride Fest, the Dark Fest. Dark Fest. Like, send
Stark Week 2025.
Dude, yeah. I mean, that's, dreams, right? Yeah. Like 100%. So I'm just going to control what I can control, keep getting in better shape, and just keep on focusing on my craft, and then just hanging out and hoping that, people like hanging out with me enough to have me around, and then just show out the best I can, and hopefully just have a hell of a lot of fun doing it.
I hope you're successful, because I'm going to follow you around with a camera.
I think I maybe could get successful if you follow me with a camera and we get into some crazy stuff, bro. Because, I mean,
teamwork.
I appreciate you so much, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
I mean, think about it. Like, otherwise I got a tripod and an iPhone, And
Well, so
you know what I mean?
You already alluded to it on Instagram. So I guess what's next is making a X Games style street edit, right? So we want to
Yeah.
make a skateboarding style, BMX style, big bike in the streets skate edit.
You're gonna do like a full length?
No, we're going to try to follow that X Games format, I think, and just do a 1.5 minute, stack your best clips you can
Yeah.
and just put all your A grade material in there and make a nice, tight, quick edit. Maybe we can find some musicians or something to score that bad boy for us and put
Get
some
something
OG
cleared.
music in it.
Yeah. So I've done this before for BMX. I definitely was pushing for BMX, and it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Just like just figure out spots, do builds, and then just go in and just lay down hammer after hammer as best as you possibly can. Because it's like a time capsule of where you are, the absolute best that you're capable of at that moment. And like as you're doing it, you think about that. You're like, I can't leave. I have to put it all on the table because this is me right now. And then of course the goal is to put it out and then gear up to do something better every time. So yeah, my goal is to kind of, and it's weird because as a rider, like you're like, oh yeah, you have an idea of how good of a rider you are. But when push comes to shove and you lay it down, you put it on tape and you watch it, you're like, okay, this is where I am. This is what I got. And if I feel like I need to be better, time to go back to the drawing board and level it up again. Yeah, I love it. So I'm hoping that Dale and I can, because this is tough for Dale too. I mean, tough for me, but like, hey Dale, I found this spot up in Lago Vista. It's off I'm jumping off the roof of a building. Like I found there's a building on the east side that I'm going to jump off the roof. All right, and that's like the logistics of that. Showing up, parking in a neighborhood, bringing crazy expensive camera equipment, crazy expensive bikes, figuring out how to get on top of the building. Like Dale pushing me up a tree so I can climb up and throw me my bike, jumping off. Trying not to get the cops called on you, getting the shot, doing it again. Oh, I didn't like the way I did that. Or, hey, I didn't quite get the shot I wanted. Over and over and over again. Cool, Dale. Next, we're going to San Antonio for the next shot. Like,
yeah, that would be.
Who has time for that? Except you got to make time, right? You have to be motivated and dedicated. And like, you are so focused. And I try and be focused as well. And like having somebody like-minded like that, who has a passion for their craft and who wants to be, something exceptional, hopefully exceptional, or at least like achieve a goal.
Yeah.
So that partnership is hugely important, man. You have no idea how much I appreciate you for, staying focused with me.
Well, yeah, we'll progress together this year.
I hope so, man. I got some big plans for before the end of the year.
All right. Well, any shout outs, socials, any websites, contact information you want to give out?
Definitely shout out to the people who support me. Deity, I'm on the Fresh Blood team. They're awesome. MTB ATX, Dale. Golfer USA for brakes. Loose Riders, for sure. I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, Lomelander. I can't forget Lomelander. Lomelander is, I just want to say something about Lomelander. They're the first people who looked at me and said, hey, you're on the team. Like totally organic. Like they're the best people in the world. I actually just saw they were having a jam and I messaged them and said, hey, can I come out? I just want to come out, just hang out. And they're like, sure, why not? So I actually went to one of the owner's houses and just spent a day with them and then spent the next day hanging out and riding Duthie Park. Became fast friends and they said, hey, you know what, do you want to be on a team? And I'm hugely grateful for that because that's sort of, for me, outside validation helps. I don't know if you guys are like that, but for me, I was like, okay, maybe there's something in this where I feel like I could do something. So huge shout out to Lomelander. They're the best people in the world. What's the other question? Socials. Yeah. Scott JP Smith on Instagram. If you want to give me a follow, Scott Smith MTB on YouTube. I'm trying to make videos. I have a new video coming out from the 420 Jam here pretty soon. And then I don't post on TikTok because I don't get it. But Scott Smith MTB on TikTok. I'll probably end up posting videos there too. Because yeah, you're right. If you want to do something extraordinary, you have to push on all fronts, I guess. So
stay strong.
Shout out to my wife, Taylor.
Don't do it.
Huge shout out to my wife. I can't do anything without her. She's my inspiration. She's my freaking manager. She's my brain. She is so insightful and so helpful. She's the reason I found the doctor that I found. Like behind the scenes, she does so much. and I'm forever grateful for her supporting my dream. And yeah, she's the best. So huge shout out there. Shout out to you for hanging out today and asking me to be on this. That's amazing. Shout out to you, Dale, and all the homies around Austin. I mean, there are too many to name, but like we have the best community here in Austin.
Huge community.
Yeah, when I moved to Utah, I was like, I messed up. Now that I'm back, I'm like, I'm home. I'm here with all these people, and everybody is, dude, getting after it in their own way. Rhett with Station Mountain, and the guys down at Freeride 512, and Garrett over at Eastside, and God, I mean, like we have an amazing spot here. Just such an amazing community. So Austin's definitely home base for not leaving.
Excellent. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. You've been listening to the Austin Mountain Bike Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brooks Lawson, aka the Mountain Biking Realtor, and you can find all things Brooks Lawson at brookslawson.com.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.